For more details and a complete listing of what's happening in our city, go to tvshows.com. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned to CILU 102.7 FM.
Karate Chakras. It's true. And welcome back to the Cinematic Asylum, Karate Chakras edition with Layman Pascal on CILU 102.7 FM in the shadow of the sleeping giant. And yes, I do usually say chakras, but I think maybe I ought to say chakras. It has a more North American sound to it, don't you think? It's hard to know how to pronounce things. Karate Chakras. You know, I grew up in rural Canada, and once a week the Chilean political refugee and black belt martial artist Juan Carlos Dodidos would take the ferry boat over to our large but unpopulated island and teach an all-ages karate class. It was good. Helped us stay fit, discipline our aggression, and dignify each other with space when we got injured or upset. We were told that karate was an Asian martial art that meant the way of the empty hand. Karate. But in hindsight, I realized now that I was not studying an Asian martial art called karate, but was in fact studying the Canadian martial art of karate. K-E-R-O-D-D-Y, karate. That's not a mispronunciation, that was our pronunciation. I've struggled to get over my sense of excessive deference in the face of the apparently exotic. When I first taught yoga, I used Sanskrit words profusely, even though I speak English. That's weird, isn't it? And when I was a kid, I immersed myself in the gods and goddesses of pagan Europe while knowing next to nothing about the gods and goddesses of the Indians who lived one island over from me and who grew up in the same ecological situation as myself. This romantic interest in the distant, the exotic, and the foreign is not a bad thing. It can be the goad to exploration and the opening to a truly human and international experience of planetary culture. But at the same time, you run the risk of devaluing the local, the colloquial, and the immediate. Your own language is fine. It can do anything that any other language can do, or at least that should be your starting position. Sacredness is not far off, it's close at hand. It's not in strange words, but in words you can understand if you but grant them the aesthetic and holy potential that they deserve. Don't overlook the grandeur of the familiar. So I will say karate instead of karate, and maybe I'll say chakras instead of chakras. The only problem is that there's a rather neat connection between chakras and getting shocked by shocking chakras, so maybe I will say chakras, but I'll tell you this, no Sanskrit. It's a lovely language, but so is North American English. Well, what the heck are chakras anyway? People call them the organs of subtle anatomy, but that doesn't tell us much. Roughly speaking, we're dealing with functional thematic regions of the body, zones, neural networks, energetic fields in ourselves that relate to particular qualities of action and experience. That makes sense. We try to think with our heads. We feel strong emotions in connection with the organs of the upper chest, and some situations make us feel our guts have been ripped out. We know that areas of the anatomy are connected with particular types of experience and particular aspects of life. Are they glowing balls of colorful vortex light? Well, probably not, but they have an energetic aspect to them, and we might as well picture them that way if we enjoy it. We all love Christmas with the lights strung up in the dark to provide a magical field of cheerful illumination in the night or hung upon the sacred gift-giving tree. All the colors of the rainbow provide a vivid, childlike sense of wonder. But maybe we shouldn't let that persuade us into the rather cartoonish idea that your chakras are color-coded like a box of Crayola crayons. Sure, that looks nifty on a poster at the metaphysical bookshop where you buy your Nag Champa incense, but it's not exactly the science of subtle body anatomy, is it? It doesn't even seem very sciencey at all. Different people see different colors, I'm told. Some people see no colors. And everyone has different associations with colors, despite the fact that the vibratory frequency of physical color has distinct effects on our brains. I'm not saying there's no correspondence to color, but I am saying that if you want to understand chakras better, you might want to give up the crayon version of fixed colorful balls of light glowing and spinning at specific spots along your spine. Let's think more broadly. Let's think more openly. Let's say we don't know and don't care about all too convenient color codes. Let's say we're dealing very generally with subtle functional regions of the anatomy of the human body, but that those regions don't have to be concentrated locally in spheres. They might be more fluid, less geometrical, more diverse. Because you know I'm all about that bass, about that bass, no trouble. I'm all about that bass, about that bass, no trouble. I'm all about that bass, about that bass, no trouble. I'm all about that bass, about that bass. Yeah, it's pretty clear I ain't no size two, but I can shake it like I'm supposed to do. 'Cause I got that boom boom that all the boys are chasing, all the right junk in all the right places. I see those magazines working on Photoshop. You know that stuff ain't real. Come on and make it stop. If you got beauty, then raise them up, 'cause every inch of you is perfect from the bottom to the top. My mama, she told me don't worry about your size. She said boys like a little more booty to hold at night. You know I won't be no stick figure, silicone Barbie doll. So if that's what you're into, then go ahead and move along. Because you know I'm all about the bass, no treble. I'm all about the bass, no treble. I'm all about the bass, no treble. I'm all about the bass, I'm bringing booty back. Go ahead and tell those skinny ladies that. Nah, I'm just playing. I know you think you're fat, but I'm here to tell you every inch of you is perfect from the bottom to the top. Hey, my mama, she told me don't worry about your size. She said boys like a little more booty to hold at night. And I won't be no stick figure, silicone Barbie doll. So if that's what you're into, then go ahead and move along. Because you know I'm You see my mama, she told me don't worry about your size. Because boys like a little more booty to hold at night. You know I won't be no stick figure, silicone Barbie doll. So if that's what you're into, then go ahead and move along. That was Postmodern Jukebox's 1940s jazz swing cover of Meghan Trainor's All About That Bass, the original of which was featured on 2 separate episodes of Coronation Street in 2014. We're talking all about that bass right now, the base of the chakra system. We're starting at the so-called bottom of the chakras if you were standing or sitting upright. This is the almost got me. I almost said it in Sanskrit. I apologize. Down here at the bottom of the torso, we have a saddle, a foundation, a spring, a base. Base is a good word here. It has several meanings in English. Bass with 2 S's refers to a deep tone you might hear pounding out of a car stereo. Doom, doom, doom. And do you remember that scene in The Lord of the Rings where Frodo and the boys go down into the lost dwarven colony in the mines of Moria, and then down in that dark pit in places even deeper than the mines, they hear a horrible drumming in the deep. Boom, boom, boom. The orcs are coming. Activation of things at the bottom. That's what this system does, this chakra. We say that something is base, also meaning coarse or crass as opposed to refined and lofty. There are dirty and obscene dimensions to the base of the torso, scatological dimensions, horror film dimensions. And horror films are used by people, often adolescents, to activate the base chakra region. They don't go to become truly scared. They go to get startled, activated, excited, to jump and gasp and grab at each other in the dark, to get the heart racing. These films are full of bodies, body parts, splatter, reasons to run, reasons to race toward and away things, weird sexual and excretory entities, forests and jungles and dark caves and creaking houses, like caves full of spiders and snakes and things that startle you into activation. Some people associate this region, the lower pelvis, lower back, and legs, with sexuality, but it's only one dimension of sexuality, the arousal part. It springs up, this chakra. It activates. It's where we do our fleeing. Flee back to the base, back to our home base. In North American slang, there is first, second, and third base as terms of what other parts of another person's body you might touch on a date. And one of the reasons this base is often compared to a coiled snake is that a coiled snake lays down on the ground, and if you poke it, it suddenly leaps up or starts moving quickly in an undulating side-to-side manner. That's our kundalini arousal from the bottom chakra, so to speak. We get startled, too, if we see a snake, and we feel sexy when we make side-to-side undulating motions like snakes do. The swinging bottom, the Negro groove that was lacking from a lot of early 20th century Caucasian folk dances. The strut, the bounce, my God, the bounce! The base is for bouncing, riding a horse, riding a pogo stick, going over bumps on your motorbike. One of the most rejuvenating exercises for bodies as they age is simply to do a few minutes of hopping up and down a few times a day. Motion and bounce and groovy activation. That's the base chakra. That was Dwayne Eddy with Rabble Rouser, which I first heard on the Forrest Gump soundtrack with Tom Hanks. You're listening to CILU 102.7 FM. I'm a layman Pascal, and this is the Karate Chakras edition of the Cinematic Asylum. Up next, the human belly. Sometimes you'll see sexuality placed on both of the bottom two chakras on a colorful chakra chart, and that's because it has multiple aspects. There isn't really a sexual center. The arousal and activation functions are in the lower abdomen, and the reproductive and mating and having relationships over time functions are in the mid-abdomen. The womb and going out to dinner, the belly, the lower and mid-abdomen I like to think of as the hearth. A warming fireplace that converts simple bioenergetic stimulation into something nice for mammals. This is the clan region. We touch bellies when we get a nice big bear hug from someone cozy and trustworthy, someone warm in the hearth. Someone who has converted their jing into chi and smoothly incorporated their aggression into warmth, humor, and a simple animal sturdiness. Clans often organize themselves around food rituals. Think how many members of your own clan only get together for periodic dinners, and how many of them try to show their love by offering food or asking you what you're allowed to eat now. Think of those places in the world where people become irrationally offended if you don't enjoy their food and drink, and become irrationally pleased if you do merely consume the same food items as them. Think of the big but firm bellies on mature gorillas, and the pear-shaped winners of the world's strongest man competition. Santa's belly shaking as he laughs. There's a spacious cave of treasure here. And we can miss those treasures if we have a flabby or sunken belly with no tone, no strength in our core muscles. We can also miss those treasures if we lock up our belly in a narcissistic prison of hard-cut abs. Of course, everyone's a little different, but you want warmth, strong, toned lower abdomen of some kind, full but firm. You know, neurologists say that the intestines have as many neural connections in them as does the brain of a cat. There's a real, actual, independent mammal brain down there in your belly. And it should look after things for you, things like reproduction, digestion, general comfort, friendliness with nature, a non-sentimental ease among other animals. The question is whether your belly is open or closed, healthy or unhealthy, strong or weak, smart or dumb. And what would you do to make it stronger, healthier, smarter, and more robust? Exercise your core muscles, obviously. Gather your chi into the well of healthy energy that lives behind the navel. Even ask your belly questions. Don't let your eyes, tongue, and mind make too many of your food decisions when you look at a menu. Let the belly swell or contract and give you some kind of indication if it actually wants to digest the things you're thinking about. The eyes and the tongue aren't the ones that have to do the digesting. Maybe your belly subtly expands and contracts with agitation or calms down when presented with choices about food, sex, animals, yards, sleep, hugs, hearth, and home. And speaking of warm, bearskin rugs, relaxation, childhood, and food, here's Baloo from the Jungle Book with the bare necessities.
For the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities are Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be found off my big home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. When you look under the rocks and plants and take a glance at the fancy ants, then maybe try a few. The bare necessities of life will come to you. They'll come to you. Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities. That's why a bear can rest at ease with just the bare necessities of life. Now when you pick a pawpaw or a prickly pear, and you prick a raw paw, well, next time, beware. Don't pick the prickly pear by the paw. When you pick a pear, try to use the claw. But you don't need to use the claw when you pick a pear of the big pawpaw. Have I given you a clue? The bare necessities of life will come to you. They'll come to you. this is really living. So just try and relax. Yeah, cool it. Fall apart in my backyard. Because let me tell you something, little britches. If you act like that bee acts, you're working too hard. And don't spend your time looking around for something you want that can't be found. When you find out you can live without it and go along not thinking about it, I'll tell you something true. The bare necessities of life will come to you. Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities. That's why a bear can rest at ease with just the bare necessities of life. Yeah, with just the bare necessities of life.
Look, there are certain people out there. I'm not going to mention any names. I think you know who I'm talking about. And if you think that means I'm talking about the Jews, you might have a problem and should call a doctor and get that checked out. No, I'm talking about those proponents of evolutionary spirituality, again, Wilbur, who use the image of the chakra system to invoke developmental stages of human maturation. You start at the body, identify with an organism, and you work way up past egotism to the heart, and then into the glorious emergent stages of higher evolutionary spiritual vision and enlightenment. Now, I'll not deny that a pattern roughly like that one does exist, but it's a little too convenient, in my view, to conflate developmental stages with chakras. I mean, we're all born with all our chakras. They don't emerge sequentially the way that formal operational cognition shows up in children after a period of creative adaptation to concrete operational cognition. No, they're all already there. And what's more, it seems, sure, that an upright spine of a yogi sitting in meditation posture is normal, but really it's a spinal anomaly. I mean, most vertebrates, most spine-having things are horizontal. Basically, every spine is horizontal, and even the human spine spends half its time lying down. So this whole notion of climbing up the totem pole of the chakras is a bit dubious. It seems to me they're not at all like stages of development, but more like different developmental lines or intelligences which all coexist and can each grow developmentally to be deepened, strengthened, blocked, opened, complexified, etc. You get down on your hands and knees and you've still got chakras. Suddenly they don't go up and down anymore. The whole notion of top and bottom is sometimes pretty hazy. And while we're drifting into a haze, let's talk about the solar plexus. We were down with the clan and animals and clanimals in the belly before, but now we take a step forward and stand up into something more personal and interpersonal, the interpersonal significance of the personal in the solar plexus. You know the problem in the movie The Hobbit, aside from the fact that it was kind of lame, superficial, and overly drawn out compared to the Lord of the Rings films, is that some damn dragon has taken up residence in the dwarf mountain and is hagging all their ancestral gold. Hagging is hogging and hugging at the same time. Hagging all their ancestral gold. There's a great cavern of the abdomen with its clan treasure, but it's got a dragon problem, a serpent problem. The alien from Aliens lives down there. A convoluted serpent of the all-devouring, acidic, dripping intestinal coils around your treasure, constantly causing trouble. What does it need? Well, it needs to be conquered by a hero. Could be Bilbo, Thorin Oakenshield, or Sigourney Weaver. The return of the king is needed. A courageous, individualistic stand has to be made. One has to face down the ancient danger and set themselves up as the heroic warden over top of the cave, above the mountain, on the throne. This is the solar plexus. Take a stand, make a stand. Stand for something, stand up to bullies, stand down when ordered to do so, and when your own animal instincts want you to keep shooting for no reason. Take action apart from the clan. Go on your own adventure and skip Thanksgiving dinner. Lead an army into battle and take responsibility for your own bad choices. Volunteer for remorse. Go and have a look at monsters. Learn to execute a plan and to be executed with dignity if it comes to that. Stand out, stand alone, stand up for good against evil. Stand aside if you're in someone's way. Be a gunslinger. Stand at the crossroads at noon and face your fate. Let yourself be insulted without flinching. You can stand it. You can't be president without a pretty sturdy solar plexus, and some presidents only have a pretty sturdy solar plexus. Maybe they're dumb, unlovable, uninspired, unspiritual, unloving, sexless, bounceless individuals, someone you'd never want to hug, but they can face down the nation, face down the press, take a stand, hold their position against criticism, make tough decisions, lean forward, lean in, control the gold, voluntarily take a position of individual responsibility for the wealth in the dragon cave. A general, a martyr, an executive, a businessman, a name, a dignity, a legend, a showdown, a tough choice. An effort to overcome your ancestral emotions and your animal instincts, to harness and harvest them for a plan, a purpose, a risk, a reason. The coward and the gambler are weak in the solar plexus. The intelligent risk is needed there. To face and be faced, but not to obsessively confront. To be steady. To serve others in a personal way. To have a cause. To not freak out. To have integrity. To be intact. To move ahead without rushing ahead. To stay at the crest of the wave. To be at the center without forcing it. To let things impact you rather than flailing your way back down to the bear den and the snake pit. This is hard for everyone. To bear the difficulty of life rather than to get into some difficulty with angry, hungry bears in our soul. To be a human among animals. To be the friend and the coach and the leader and the speaker and the wrangler. To stand up straight and smile when insulted and tolerate the asinine qualities of others as a wound but not an insult. To be uninsultable without being insensitive, defiant, unflinching. Here is a cartoon parody of solar plexus power.
You're fired. 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 Let's go.
Hello, Mr. Trump. It's an honor to meet you. I was wondering what you would say to President Obama.
You're fired.
My life is a constant entrapment of tunnels which tangle and wind and beguile. And regardless of where I may tumble or funnel, I wonder what's really worthwhile. But I'm gonna win, I'm gonna try, I'll never lose, I'll never die. You've seen me before, you'll see me again. I'll never give up, I'll never give in, till I'm bloody and bruised, till I've broken my bones, till I won't be abused, till I'm laughing alone. It's hard to be charming and smart and disarming. It's hard to pretend you're the best. It's hard to fulfill everyone's expectations. It's hard to keep up with the rest. But I'm gonna win, I'm gonna try, I'll never lose, I'll never die. You've seen me before, you'll see me again. I'll never give up, I'll never give in, till I'm bloody and bruised, till I've broken my bones, till I won't be abused, till I'm laughing alone. How do you feel? You've been concealing your worries from the world, but you can't reveal them to me. I wouldn't know. I go on even though I'll be bloody and bruised. I'll be breaking my bones, I'll be paying my dues, I'll be laughing alone.
CILU is supported in part by the students of Lakehead University, our sponsors, and our listeners. At this time, we would like to thank the following sponsors for their continuous support.
The Foundry at 242 Red River Road. Open 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. Monday to Saturday. Featuring Folking Mondays, Karaoke Tuesdays, Trivia Wednesdays, Open Stage Thursdays, and live music weekends. Find out more at thefoundrypub.com. Magnus Theatre. bringing a revolutionary season of live theater to northwestern Ontario. Get your 2018-2019 tickets by visiting magnustheatre.com. The Thunder Bay Symphony Orchestra. Log on to tbso.ca or call 626-TBSO for details on their 2018-2019 season and how to get tickets.
Solar Plexus Power on the Karate Chakras edition of the Cinematic Asylum on CILU 102.7 FM. This is Layman Pascal, and that was A Tribe Called Red from the soundtrack of the 2013 documentary Into the Mind. Solar plexus energy, standing up, rising up, taking a stand, something we do associate with the figure of the native warrior, and also with the skier adventurer who ends up needing more than just his physical resources and daring to conquer that mountain in Into the Mind. He needs to face himself, face the mountain, make a unique individual gamble. What's above the solar plexus? Oh yeah, the heart. I almost forgot. What does that say about me? Nothing good, I hope. You know, the heart isn't just emotions, or rather, there are lots of emotions from a lot of organs that live high and low in the torso. They don't all come from the middle upper chest. That's a special area, where the heart and the lungs are, where the neuroelectric tissue that runs the circulatory system lives. We all have emotions all the time, but we don't always have an open heart. We don't always put our heart into things. Sometimes we wear our heart on our sleeve, and that's no good, and other times we're heartless, just as bad, maybe worse. We can get into patterns of emotional expression where we try to discharge our upset by telling other people a verbal story that feels true that we've told them 1,000 times already. Are they not hearing us? Or is our repetitive storytelling, regardless of its basis in fact, actually not how emotions get communicated between human beings? There's an opening and a longing and a range of emotional capacities here that doesn't just stick to your local animal response and personal issues around independence, capacity, vanity, and acknowledgement. There's other emotions, longer emotions, Jesus emotions, compassion, the ache of the cosmos, the undefined connection that binds all beings together in a shared sympathy. The heart that blurs lines, the heart that wants to save all beings and make sure humanity is a good custodian of the ecosystem and who loves goodness. Not that insipid, sentimental, superficial way where people use faux emotions as a social virtue signaling mechanism and then pat themselves on the back for their meager degree of empathy with good causes and oppressed groups, but a deep, authentic, and altogether stranger emotional connectivity that suggests something maybe divine about individual human beings, the power of the soft heart. A place of contentment and mutuality that you end up in if you have a good, accurate argument where people actually hear each other and find that treacherous mountain path through their reactive tensions and stay with it until they come down into the lush valley where the water is your friend and the animals all recognize each other without using their minds. A heart-to-heart. Sometimes a heart-to-heart is almost telepathic. Sometimes you might even hear someone else's voice speaking to you suddenly in your chest. What's that all about? Here's the moody, psychic, pure emotion tones of Angelo Badalamenti with Laura's theme from Twin Peaks. That was Angelo Badalamenti with Laura's theme. I'm LP on CILU, Karate Chakras edition. What? Speak up! That's right, we're up to the voice level if we're pretending that chakras come up from the bottom. Almost everybody has a voice. I mean, they can technically speak, most of them, but not everyone seems to have a voice in that special sense of having a personal character or style that seems to naturally extend your own insights, concerns, experiences, and sensibilities into the greater cultural landscape. The wolves and the raptors and the whales sing across vast geographic and marine and atmospheric spaces. Human beings can howl into the noosphere. But what constitutes a real voice beyond merely howling? The person who howls actually simply asserts their private right to be validated and may have very little to say, or may not say it in an interesting fashion, no matter how socially relevant it might be. In a sensitive and advanced society, we suggest to each other that everyone is entitled to a voice, to have their basic human dignity and well-being and emotional peculiarity expressed, or at least not actively oppressed, in social space. Fantastic. And yet somehow that's not the same as really having a voice, in the sense of having a contribution to make as far as everyone else is concerned. Even the circus-like TV shows where amateur singers compete against each other and sometimes become pop stars don't often produce anyone who has a specific character that speaks to the cultural and historical moment, who has a voice that could be recognized down through the centuries. We might think of Socrates as having a strong voice. His casual conversations in ancient Athens created whole schools of philosophy, drove other people to record his words in books and plays, and ultimately seemed so threatening to be heard that he was publicly executed. A powerful force came out of his metaphorical and energetic throat. When Debbie Harry burst onto the 1970s music scene as Blondie, she immediately colonized her own unique sonic territory with her throat. Nothing else sounds quite like Blondie or Nancy Sinatra or Dolly Parton. When Kurt Cobain appeared, we, the culture, had literally never heard anything like those words expressed with those kinds of noises. And there were great prose stylists. Think about people like Kierkegaard and Nietzsche and Dostoevsky, who are still witty and wise and stylish, even when you translate all their words into another language. That's amazing. That's a voice that echoes through the centuries. Anybody who reads a Vonnegut novel or a Hunter Thompson novel out loud starts to sound like that author. They have distinct signatures to their intonations, their insights, their rhythms. Another weirdo in that same category is William Burroughs, poet, author, jungle explorer, orgone enthusiast, recovering junkie, hallucinatory collagist, and cynic. Burroughs' distinct pattern of intonation and literary assemblage influenced generations of writers and intellectuals. To represent the energy of the voice, here's Thompson and then Burroughs.
Strange memories on this nervous night in Las Vegas. Has it been 5 years? 6? It seems like a lifetime. The kind of peak that never comes again. San Francisco in the middle 60s was a very special time and place to be a part of. But no explanation. No mix of words or music or memories can touch that sense of knowing that you were there and alive in that corner of time in the world. Whatever it meant. There was madness in any direction, at any hour. You could strike sparks anywhere. There was a fantastic universal sense that whatever we were doing was right, that we were winning. And that, I think, was the handle. That sense of inevitable victory over the forces of old and evil. Not in any mean or military sense. We didn't need that. Our energy would simply prevail. We had all the momentum. We were riding the crest of a high and beautiful wave. So now, less than 5 years later, you can go up on a steep hill in Las Vegas and look west. And with the right kind of eyes, you can almost see the high water mark. That place where the wave finally broke and rolled back.
Dead Souls. This is sort of a film idea loosely suggested by a sci-fi book. This is, in fact, the ultra-secret and super-sensitive function of the atomic bomb, soul killer, to alleviate an escalating soul glut. Stacked up like cordwood and non-recyclable by the old hellfire expedient like fucking plastics. Ruins of Hiroshima on screen. Pull back to show Robert Oppenheimer and the technician at a switchboard, and Robert Oppenheimer flanked by middle-aged men with a cold, dead look of heavy power. The technician twiddles his knobs. All clear. Are you sure? The instruments say so. Yes, sir. He looks after them soundly. However, some tough young souls, horribly maimed and very disgruntled, do to survive Hiroshima and come back to endanger national security. So the scientists are put to work to devise a super soul killer. No job too dirty for a fucking scientist. People a finger. I got a mind, fuck you, every crumb for himself.
You just heard Johnny Depp speaking in the voice of Hunter Thompson for the iconic film Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. And then William Burroughs with his poem story Dead Souls, remixed by Dub Spencer and Trance Hill. Now, forget about all those people with strong vocal signatures and their extended cultural manifestation, and let's take a deep dive into the 18-dimensional vortex at the center of the mind. Let's talk about vision. The so-called third eye, whether that means the pine cone-shaped gland in the head or just the whole presence of the prefrontal cortex projected backward into the virtual space of the visual cortex between the eyes, or some nebulous electrical pattern in the deep core of the brain, or something even stranger where you literally see an eyeball or the form of the living God as if in darkness just above and behind your eyelids. This is a power to see other things. This is vision. Prophets who see the future, mathematicians and geometers who see something like higher dimensional space or the living syntax of the algebraic mandala of the cosmos, the Bindu dot on the Hindu forehead. Heck, any ultra-precise dot at the center or top of the universe or anything. Concentration itself. Glimpses of shape and precision. The forms of the deities, the secret platonic chair that patterns all real chairs, the digital Akashic memory bank from which all knowledge trickles out by anamnesis, the image of the world that could be and traces of civilizations long gone, hidden patterns within the megaliths and the stars, the eye that seems to see deep into matter and unearth its nuclear secrets, and the fluttering quantum butterflies who flit to and fro at the same time as they are bubbling forth from the froth between the universes. Superman's X-ray vision, the great theories and meta-theories that spiral out from the brains of the vast systemic philosophers, Hegel goggles and Goethe glimpses and Gödel's glasses, the art of astral travel and the science of Stonehenge, the spinning spiral of the hypnotist's eyes that lures you back to that unknown point where consciousness emerges from unconsciousness and you simply let everything go and behold a wondrous pattern. That's simply entitled Third Eye Chakra. It's apparently an ancient solfeggio isochronic tone, but we'll let the fates decide. Welcome back. I'm Layman Pascal, and I live apparently in the center of your mind. We were exploring the phenomenological connection between the area behind the eyes and the general spiritual, mathematical, and geometric visionary capacities of organisms like ourselves. We were deep in the third eye, but we shouldn't be too biased toward our neuro-optic circuitry. Nietzsche spoke of listening with the third ear, and the Church of the Subgenius jokes about the sacred third nostril of the living slackmaster J.R. Bob Dobbs. So-called higher vision is a general capacity, not just an extra eyeball. But forget about all that. Let the center of the brain go off wherever it goes, and let your attention trickle to the very top of the brain, like the most delicate feather in this world or beyond. Now you are the fountainhead. This is the final stop on our chakra journey today. What does it mean when the top of your skull is open and glowing and lit up like a beacon, like a lamp on a hill rather than hid under a bushel? transcendental, transpersonal, transrational, the most high and even higher than that, the most glorious point above the head, somewhere mysterious that showers its glories back down upon the world. The diamond fountain of the crown, the glistening lotus whose petals fall from heaven and rise back up again. Beyond you, above you, the god or goddess enthroned at the point of your maximum potential, the throne itself. The peak of the skull, the peak experience, the peekaboo is the divine whatever pops its head out from the world at the wrong angle, winks at you, points out that it's really your own head, and then bursts into 1,000 scintillating crystal sparkles of unutterably smooth ecstasy. The whiteness in which all colors combine harmoniously, the clearness in which all forms are united seamlessly, the darkness in which everything surrenders itself joyously and receives back more than it can possibly imagine. Above imagining, the chakra above the third eye, more than your best personal visions, more than your highest understanding, something else, something greater, something higher. It almost makes you dizzy in both directions just to think about it, spilling out of the top of your head as if your skull were soft and melted and putting up no resistance to the ascending or descending circle of unfathomable radiance, which is always and forever the only ever thing that we always only ever wanted before we were born and after we die, and even now as we sit atop the Mount Olympus in the free-floating wise clouds above the Himalayas, where the perfect jewel of light unites its own knot, unties it, passes back into everything that it never left. Right now, right on, up and out and nowhere at the same time, the floating realm that dances on a sky we cannot even comprehend. Yes, we've come to the top of the chakra system. That is, if we were sitting upright, even though most spines are curvy or lying down, and none of the chakras should really be treated as more superior or more spiritual, or first or last. The serpent doesn't really rise just from the bottom and go to the top. It curls up and down, around and between, sinking its teeth into mutual resonance between these zones. Higher frequency does not refer just to the upper terminal of light opposed to the lower terminal of mortal vitality, but rather a movement toward the overtone of harmonized inclusivity of all centers at a higher power as opposed to a lower power and a lower erratic imbalance between chakra regions. Coordination, synchronization between the centers. That's higher. Getting them all balanced with each other means activating all of them with roughly equal power, not allowing any one of them to predominate too much in your attention at any moment. Powering up in an individual region, no matter which one, is a lifelong affair. And sure, a blast of apparently subtle energy from an external source can open you up strongly and temporarily, but you need a regular practice that exercises all your bits. Exercise means to be open rather than closed, to be strong rather than weak, to be present rather than absent, pulsating rather than rigid, sensitive rather than indifferent, intelligent rather than dumb. It means subjective, interpersonal, and physical aspects of each region must all be taken into account. Tension must be eased. Readiness to confront the world must be increased in each region. Feeling the unique flavors and capacities of each region is necessary without too much moralistic judgment, but with ever-increasing nuance and complexity. Each region needs to do its own work and, as we say in yoga, stay on your own mat. You can't run a civilization with things getting in each other's way. Let every chakra do its own work really well and let them all coordinate into a great symphony. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you hearing me next time on the Cinematic Asylum on CILU 102.7 FM. I'm Layman Pascal, and let's pass out through that ephemeral node at the top of our heads and disperse effortlessly into the strange, uplifting, twinkling, transpersonal, celestial, crystalline, cosmic, shimmering, melting, superlative, and exalted weirdness of elves and aliens that we can barely comprehend. This is Celestial Soda Pop from Ray Lynch.